So we're going to do an animation and using the animator in Unity. So I guess if we just get like a quick scene put together, just a random plane and stuff. So I'll go over like how to make an animation first. So I'll just have a plane with like a sphere on it. So if you right click in assets and go to create and then animation down here, and then you can call it something. And if you drag it onto the object that you want to animate, so I'll drag it onto the sphere, it will then create an animation controller. But to actually edit the animation, you need to go to Window and then Animation, and then Animation, and it will bring up the animation window. So now if you click on your object, and then there'll be this animation drop down here. So right now I've got sphere move selected here. Has everyone got this up?
Wait, so how did you get the animation thing?
So if you go to Window, and then Animation here, and then Animation. Or do Control 6, as it says. So yeah, once you select your object, it'll be active. If you don't have an object selected, it will like start off grayed out. So on this animation window, we have the timeline on the right here. So currently it's between 0 and 1 second. And if we click play, currently it will just do nothing and loop. But if we want it to do something, what we can do is we can click add property and say we want it to move. So we go to transform and then position. And then now it's add some keyframes here. So these diamonds here are keyframes, and they will so for the position, it will let blend between this keyframe and the next keyframe over the time. So currently it's got the same positions on each, but if we change it to be like a bit higher for one of them and then hit play, it did not do anything. It did not save. Why did it not save? Yes, okay. This is why. You need to hit the this button here to record stuff, and then you can make changes to the keyframes. So now if we put this to 5 and then hit play, it will then blend the transform position from this to this over the time. Yep. So if you have you added the property down here?
Yeah.
So then now click on this button here, and then click on either keyframe that you want to change, and then you can edit the values. So we can change this to like over here. That's done it in random time. Okay, delete that. So yeah, so if you then change the some values around here, and then hit play, it will then blend that. So if I reset this back to where it was, for some reason, okay, so when you have the time limit or the time, this white bar set to here, and then you can go through the animation step by step by just moving this along. But then when you make a change, it'll set up a new keyframe here, and then it will then make a new blend point. If you go to edit a property that's not on the list, in record mode it should add it. So if I change rotation, it's now added the rotation here to the property, and you can also change scale as well. So this will now look like this. Obviously this looks very strange, but you're like, if you're actually making an animation, you'll make it look nicer. So with these keyframes, you can actually drag them around like this. So this keyframe at the top here, on this top line, will select everything in that column. But the ones underneath you can select, and it will only select that one. And then you can change these as you want. If you scroll, you can zoom out to be more than 1 second as well. And then you can make it a longer animation. And that is the basics of animation. Any questions right now? Okay, so let's do some weird stuff now that you can do with the animation. So I believe if we make a material called like red and make it a red, then what we can do is we can go back to the animation, and then halfway in the between here, I'm pretty sure we can just change the material halfway through. Yep. So now when we click play, it starts off white and then switches to red. So the idea is, the animation is, anything that changes on the object will be recorded when you have record mode open at that time. So what we can do is, I believe we could also add random components as well. So zoom out. Oh, okay, that's interesting. It doesn't seem to want to like add components. Okay. I'm just going to show you this because it's kind of cool. You don't have to do it right now. It's just a demonstration. But if we create a script on here, and then let me edit this script real quick. So I've just created a script that has a random public function that says hello in the console when that function is called. Oh, now it's going to take forever to compile. Oh no. Okay, there we go, right. So we got this script that says debugger on it, and we can add this script to here. No, so hold on. So if you click this button here, you'll add an event, I believe. So now that we've added that speak function, now that it's public, it exists here. So if we enable that, now what will happen is, when we run this, does it have to be in play mode? It may have to be in play mode, or let's see. Another loading bar. Okay, yes. So now in play mode, it did it really fast, but it did say hello. So you can use events to like run functions on objects. So that might be useful for like if you have an attack animation at the correct point, you can then deal damage to whatever's getting attacked, for example. So that is the basics of the animator, or the animation. There are other things like this which I would not worry about too much. This is just like how the things are blended together, I believe. But yes, you can edit this if you want, but I would suggest you don't need to. Just use this mode here. So do we have any questions about creating animations right now? Okay, there is one more thing actually. If we have a cube as a child of this, for example, we can then add the cube to the animation. So we hit record. And then if we move the cube, so like we go to here, and then the cube goes over here, for example. So now it's added the cube position here. So now when we hit play, the cube will be separate to the, will move separately because we've set up a different animation for it. So this is useful for like when you have bones on a character model to then animate the whole model in one animation rather than doing each thing separately and then combining them. I think that's everything about the animation here that I'll go over for now. So now what I'll do is I'll show you like the simplest way to get animations into your games. So if you create a character, I won't create a character for now, but if you have a character that you want to use in your game, if you then go to a site called Mixamo, I believe this is it. I have to log in. I'll just continue with Google. Let's do that. So this is basically a whole bunch of free to use animations that you can use. So you can like click on these and then they'll load the animation on the right here. And then there's going to be some options on the right again where you can change certain things about the animations. So if they're not like perfectly to how you like it, then you can edit it a little bit. So this character's just dancing around right now. However, this allows you to click upload character, where you can just upload a character that you have. It does have to have bones though. But once it will then map this animation to the character. So you can take any character and then use this animation on it, for example. But for now, I'll just use whatever they have here. So I'll just find an animation I like. I'll go for like combat or something. So there are also like animation bundles on here as well, which just contains a bunch of animations together. Is it just called bundle? Maybe. Okay, for some reason it stopped working. So, okay, so this here is a bundle, and it's got a bunch of animations packed in together. So I'm just going to use basic locomotion pack. This is just loading right now, but I will just download this. So if you click download, you'll then be able to download it. So if we just do FBX for Unity, and then you can set if you upload your character, you can click no character here, so it doesn't download the character again. It will just download the animations. But we want the character, so I'll do that, and I'll just download that. And if we just bring these into our project. So right now, what's happened here is it's taken each object, and then there is no character here. Why is there no character? Oh no, here's the character. Okay, so this is the character. But it's got all of these boxes here, which contains the animation called mixamo.com. So what you need to do is you need to open these boxes up like this, and then click Control D, and it will duplicate it and bring it outside the box, and then you can rename it. So this is idle. And I'll do that for all of them. Yeah, this is the only thing about mixed mode. It's just it names them all the same thing, so it's very hard to tell the difference. So now we don't need these boxes anymore, so we can delete those. And at this point, it might be a good idea to create an animation folder, so we're not messing our workspace. Cool. So if you now click on one of these animations, and then click on, and then I think you can drag a character into here, and then it will try and map that animation to that character. So then we can click play. I can't tell if it's actually doing anything. Jump. Okay, yes. So then now this is jumping around. And this is going to be walking. So, next thing we want to do is we want to go on all the ones where we want to have it looped. So, walking, we want it to be looped. So you're going to need to click loop time here. And then right turn. The right turn we may not want looped, so we'll leave that off. Right strafe. This one we can loop it. And then left strafe, we can loop this one as well. And idle, we can loop that one too. So now we've got all of our model's animations. If we now click all of the ones that we want, and then drag it onto our character in the scene, again it'll create an animation controller. So it's now created this animator on our object, and it's put this controller on. So if we double click on this, we now go to the animator section. So as you can see, we've now got all of our animations here already put on because we dragged it onto it. So this is a very powerful tool, and there's a lot of stuff. I'm only going to be covering some of the basics of it. So right now we have our entry state here. So that means at the start of when the object exists, this is what will happen, and we follow the line, so it'll go straight to idle. So if we click play, it should be in the idle mode. It's very hard to see because the idle animation is not doing much, but it is slightly moving. If you have a look, it is slightly moving in idle mode. If we want to change the entry point, we can right click, and I think it's this one, set default layer state, and that will change the entry point to that one. So now when we click play, the first one will be jump. Yep, but because we haven't looped jump, it's only going to jump once. If we have jump as looped and play, it will continue to jump after the animation is finished. So now it's going to jump a bunch of times, but we don't want that, we only want it to jump once. So another nice thing to see is when you have these side by side and you have the object selected, it'll actually show you which animation state it's in and how far through the animation it's done. So if you just are trying to debug what's going on, then that's a nice way to do that. So what the animator is used for is to use animation states and transitions to work out, if I'm in this animation state, what am I likely to go to next? And how do I get from my animation state to the next one? And then it will blend those animations together so it looks smooth. So if you're walking and then you suddenly jump, you won't just randomly stop and then jump. You'll go from a walk into a jump. It won't be perfect, but it'll be a bit smoother than just an instant transition. So if we put this back to idle state, so from idle, we can jump. So if we do idle and then make transition and click on jump, we now have an extra arrow here. And then from idle, we can go to a walk. So we can do that. And then I guess we can also do a left turn. And I guess we can also do a right turn. And then I'll just leave it for that for now. So if we now click play again, and then if we look at the animator, so right now it's stuck on idle. And then when it reaches the end of idle, it will go to a random one, I believe. Well, no, what it would actually do is if you click on idle, there's a bunch of transition layers down here. It will go to the first one, so it went to jump because jump was first. But, oh, what happened there? But I believe if we move walk in first, it will then go to walk in. It'll pick whatever's first on this option. Which isn't that great, because we want it to only walk when we have input. So if we now look at this, when it finishes idle, it will then go to walk in because it's first on the list. And now because walk in is a looped animation, it'll loop on this. But idle is also looped. But because it has a transition, it will not loop. So because it has a transition that it can go down, it will go to that one. So if we click on these transitions, we can give the transitions conditions. So they'll only be activated when certain conditions are met. So if we click on plus, we've added a condition. However, we don't have anything that we can use as conditions right now. So on the top left of the animator, there's a parameters box. And if you click on that, it'll open up the parameters section. And then from there, we can add a new parameter. And there's 4 different types. So if I add a trigger and call this one jump, and then on the jump transition, if I add a condition on jump, so this means when this trigger is activated, this path will be available to jump down. So if I just remove all these other transitions for now, and just have jump, and hit play, so what's going to happen is, this idle is going to just keep looping, because this condition is not met on this state, on this transition, so it's going to keep looping over and over again. But if I click on this thing here, it means that I've now set this trigger for jump. So when it reaches the end, this trigger will be consumed and then it's jumped. However, we've had to wait till the end of that animation, which is not the best. So if we go back to this transition and remove has exit time, what this means is it will not wait for the end of the animation if the condition is true. So this will mean that as soon as we trigger jump, it will jump straight away. So right now it's in idle mode, but if I hit jump, it went instantly into a jump. However, now we're stuck in jump, so we need to get some way to go back to idle. So if we make a transition here, and if we make this has exit time, so it finishes the jump with no conditions, it means that when we finish jump, we'll go straight back into idle. Which means we can then jump again. and we can just keep jumping around. So that is the jump. There is also a float, which will be used for walking. So if we do like forward, so if we now make a transition to here, and then if we have a condition where what's going on? Okay, it's just very slow. Okay. So if we say forward is greater than 0, and then if we remove exit time, and then if we add a transition back when walking is 0. Ooh. So if you add too many, you can click on the condition and click minus and it will remove it. Okay, it doesn't have equals, so I'm just going to do like less than 0.1 or something. And I just guess I did this is greater than 0.1. So if I click play now, and then if I make forward like 0.5, it's now in a walk-in loop. And then if I make it back to 0, it will then stop. So the idea is that you'll build up a massive graph of animations and states and transitions, so at any point you know where to go to the next one on these conditions. So the thing is, I've had to click these manually, which is not very good. So to do it automatically, we need to do some scripting. Let me just do something real quick. Okay, so if we have this object on the same object of the animator, and then if we then get the animator from the object, this is not having autocomplete, which is quite irritating. What? Why is it open Notepad now? Hopefully I have autocomplete. Give it a second. Okay, right, there we go. I now have autocomplete on. Right. So, what we can do is we can do animator.setTrigger, and that will set a trigger of a given name, so we call it jump. So, this will set the trigger to jump like I did when I clicked it. However, we don't want to do it in update, so if we just add a input that just jumps when we press space. So if we click play now, so whenever I hit space, it did not do anything. Why did it not do anything? Oh no, wait, no, it did do something. Okay, there you go. So when I hit space, it will then jump. So we can do the same for moving as well. So if we do reset forwards to vertical. So now when I press forward, W on my keyboard, it increases forward, so then I can walk. And then I can also press space to jump. So if we now look at our character, when we actually do walk, we walk forward, but then we get pinged back. This is kind of a problem. There may be a solution to this in the animation. I'll have a look real quick. So if we go to the walking animation, or is it in here? Is it this one? It's not. Okay. Let me import this walking again. There is a way to make it so it will keep its last position instead of pinging back. I need to remember where it is. Is it here? Daniel, do you happen to know where keep root motion is on the animations?
Where the what, sorry?
Keep root motions are.
Uh,
So instead of just pinging back to where it was, it will actually just update its position. Because right now it does this, and it pings back.
I'm not sure.
Because usually these animations have a lot more stuff on them.
Yeah, I remember that being a thing. I'm not sure where else to look.
Okay, there is one thing we can try, and that is here. Okay, right. So if you go to the character and then click on animation, so character animation, and then go down to where it says motion, and then change this to root transform possibly. I hope this does it for all of them and not just this animation that it's attached to. No, it just did it to all of them. Just did it to this one. Okay, we'll not worry about this. So instead, we'll just go on to some more about this stuff here. So right now we have all of these different turns and stuff, but we don't want to have, it's going to be a pain to like go between all these different turns with a bunch of transitions. So what Unity has is a blend tree. So if we go right click, create state, new blend tree, and then if we delete all of these, including idle, and then make this as the base, and then transition to here, and set this back up to when we hit jump. So what we want to do is we want to have a blend tree, and then if we click on blend tree here in where it says motion, and then if we make it 2 directional, I think it's 2D simple directional, and then if we add a second parameter called sideways, yeah, so if you double click the blend tree, you'll then go inside of it and go to this blend tree here. So if we do forward and sideways, and then if we add a bunch of motion fields, which are what our animations are, so I'll just add a few for now. So what this does is it will take all these animations, and then depending on where it is, so you can set the positions of X and Y, and then depending on where it is, it will blend the animations that it's closest to together, depending on the input of the these two here. So for example, if we put walk in at a high forward, because forward is this, so we put it up 1, and then if we have idle at 0, 0, and then if we have right turn at 0, and then 1 maybe, and then left turn at 0, -1, I'm going to add another walk in that's behind it, because then it will stop complaining. But you should have a walk backwards here instead of another walk in. So what this will do is, if we now increase these, if you look at these circles here, this is showing you what it's going to blend together. So right now it's blending idle and walk forward together. So depending on how far it is, it will blend that and then it will then blend either right or left, and then it can also blend these together. And the idea is that you'll create animations where it goes in like a bunch of different directions, and maybe like a bunch of different speeds as well. So maybe you have a walk in like 1, and then you have a run in at like 5 as well. So then it'll blend the walk in and run in together as well. So if we now set these back to 0, and then if we go back to the animation here, and if we just do that, so if we now hit forward, we go forward. If we hit right, we turn right. If we hit left, we turn left. And then if we go backwards, it will still go forward because I put walking forward as backwards. But if we go right and then forwards, it will then go forwards to the right. And then if we go to the left, it'll go forwards to the left. And then we can still jump as well. So we can go forwards and then jump halfway through. And then we'll do that. Any questions so far? Cool. That is most of the animation stuff that you need to know. There are a few other things. So you can add other layers as well. So this will be this base layer, and then you can add another layer, which is another thing. And then what you can do is you can add masks. So you can say, I want a layer just for the legs, and then a layer just for the torso. And then what you can do then is you can then say, if I'm walking, and then I have a walking animation and an attacking animation, I can blend those two layers together, where one layer deals with just the legs, and one layer deals with just the torso. So the torso will like swing the arms when it's walking, and then attack when it's attacking, and then the legs will walk when it's walking, and then stand still when it's not walking. And then what you can do is, if you just have a walking animation and a fighting animation where the fighting animation is not walking, you can make it walk and attack at the same time, because then the legs do the walking and then the attack animation does the arms. But I will not go over that because I do not know how to do that well. So, but that is a thing. If you are interested in that, then that is something that can happen as well. Any questions about animations at all? Yeah, so I guess that's it. So I guess I'll call it there. Is that cool with everyone? Sweet.